Hi, everybody. I'm very happy to be here, having a nice conversation about the most important event that is going to happen this year, with two of my best friends that we are working together. I'm going to introduce first myself. I am Luciano Escudero, VP of Engineer at Globant. At Globant, we provided services for different type of industries, specifically in my case for media, and we have a very strong relationship also with the sports. In fact, we are also helping FIFA on their experience for World Cup 2026. We helped them on 2022, among others like Formula One and La Liga. Um, Here with me, I have two, as I mentioned, good friends. They love media and they also love sports. So I'm going to first give the ball to introduce yourself to Elisa.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alyssa Christie. I am with Fox. So I head up product operations delivery and end-to-end quality engineering for direct to consumer. And this will now be my second World Cup. And that includes both men's and women and a couple of Super Bowls as well, too. And so we are definitely tried and true when it comes to sports at scale, especially live. But it's a whole new world with this World Cup. So very excited for that.
Great. Then Alex, you want to
Hi.
introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Campos. I'm from TelevisaUnivision. So I'm the head of technology and engineering for the streaming platform, which is called VIX. And I think this will be my fourth World Cup
Oh,
doing.
yeah?
Yeah, but this one has a very unique element, which is kind of like the streaming element, the scaling, like Elisa was mentioning. So it's going to be very interesting.
Okay, great. So just to give a little bit of context, we are talking about June, July events. We are talking more than 48 teams, more than 100 games, six them sequentially, three countries, which come with all the complexity of the broadcast and then delivery too. So it's going to be nice to have some conversations about how both products are going to be prepared for this World Cup. So starting with Alex, you already delivered on 2022 through weeks. I know you have a lot of learning from there, but can you give us a little bit of detail how the engineer team has been prepared for all the challenge this year? Um, and also, since everybody's talking about AI, how you leverage AI during the process for either planning, monitoring, observation. Can you give us a little bit of insight on how now Wix is preparing for 2026?
Yeah, of course, literally. So, like you mentioned, we have some experience with the past World Cup on 2022, and then like also we serve millions of users with the events that we have. But like the World Cup usually is like very unique event and very interesting as well. So I think it's very easy. Like, well, not that easy, but like simple in 3 points. I think the first one is like we do analysis for traffic spikes, how it's gonna look on the World Cup, and capacity planning. So we work with partners like you and others into like prepare and get ready the infrastructure and the resources for the World Cup. Once we have that done, I think the second thing is like make sure that all the platform and all the different ways we distribute the content on the platforms, like the clients, behave more or less the same thing, because we want to make sure that there's a consistent experience and a way to tackle our numbers, like like quality, also like latency, errors, start times, advertisement as well, because that's a very important element. And I think the last one is probably very important as well, and it's about resilience and disaster recovery. So we gotta be ready for the worst. So like we think of many different scenarios where like I don't know, like a cloud provider will not work, which is kind of like very hard to, but like that's an important one. Like the signal, the ingest, like all the transmission. So we look at all of that. So I think those 3 points, and going back to your question about the AI, I think we are doing a good stuff with AI, but in this particular case, what we are working on is more like an AI live monitoring agent that will look into like versioning, releases, like live metrics of the games, uh, other indicators like I was telling you, and we'll proactively like flag things that could be potentially like issues, like I don't know, error rates increasing, things like that. So that's where we are. But yeah.
Great. Ellie, you going to jump in also and give some of insight on what Fox One is doing?
Sure. One of the things about this year or this tournament in particular is that we're bringing a lot more real time to the user experience. But what's new and interesting is the advancements that we're going to be making with real time data coming from a sports perspective into the user experience and the user journey, how that coincides with the stream and the stream latency, and how that's also feeding into AI and how AI is actually helping bring to life new features, new capabilities. Because if you think about it, you think about the American audience, 104 matches, 48 teams, 16 host countries, the enormous amount of content that's going to be available, and how you bring that forward. You keep people educated, you keep them engaged. You've got a lot of folks who are still new to soccer, a lot of folks who aren't necessarily FIFA hardcore super fans, and you want them bought in, right? And so you've got to be educating and you've got to be accurate at the same time. To bring these things to life, we need to broaden our perspective of exactly what it means to have low latency in order to deliver on those premium experiences.
Great. I think there is there is a point on using those data points to what Alex and you were mentioning in order to properly monitoring what the user is experiencing in terms of quality, be able to act quickly in terms of if there are issues in real time that you can quickly jump in and fix some of them, and being able to respond quickly on some of the user experience. I was telling Ellie we have experience in the past where we know an outage on live games is not an easy one to manage. There is a reputational impact. There is a user view impact. There is a lot of aspects that is more on the outage side, but we can also have issues in terms of quality of a bit rate. If people are actually being streaming a game at very low quality bit rates, you also have impact on viewers at the end of the day. We need to remember that they are paying for actually having high quality, and they are comparing us with linear TV, honestly, which is kind of the challenge that we are seeing so far. So nice to see what both are doing. Now I'm gonna go to the experience, the experience quality. I'm gonna make a mention on 1994 was the last World Cup. All of us were in front of a normal TV trying to watch just a normal feed on the TV with very low quality. 20 years fast forward, now we're gonna start watching on the mobile. We're gonna start watching on the connected TVs. There's gonna be a lot of data, as you mentioned, in the experience side. So, what Fox One is gonna bring in terms of experience outside of the data you mentioned for actually increase the quality, but also in the area of AI, I know there is a lot of speed up in terms of delivering those. How you are balancing between delivering for your viewers, but not impacting quality on that track.
So there's a couple of key fronts I think I'd want to share with you all. So the first is really going to be around what, especially now that we have Fox One as a subscriber direct to consumer business, the 4K, the audio, all of those things, more than ever, being able to deliver those with low latency and also still meeting the demands of our advertising partners and our sponsorships and everything like that. So that's been a core work in progress for us going on for several months now, and making sure that that's becoming a core competency of what you get when you get the Fox One product, right? Everything that we're doing now is going into the future of sports viewership and of Fox One experiences. So nothing's throwaway in this regard. We're just setting the bar for going forward into NFL and everything after that, right? So that's what these investments are about. The other thing I'll say is that we are leaning heavily into AI from a user experience perspective, like I alluded to a moment ago. So when I think about the opportunity to educate in real time, like, again, somebody like a red card just happened, what does that actually mean to somebody who doesn't understand the game, right? And being able to lean into AI insights and bring that forward to you and using those things for content creation, right? The other thing I mentioned before was just how much content there's going to be created. Now we have a world of, the creator economy, social proliferation, all of our partners where Fox One will exist. And we've got to be building, and we're using AI for quality control as well, too, as we're building out these all of the things that we're pushing out to our partners and bringing those things in and making sure that that's part of our core operations from like a broadcast and digital streaming perspective too. So it's a huge footprint. Add one more surface to the mix on top of social. Yeah, you've got XR, VR, AR, all of those Rs, right?
Yeah.
So that's another part of this experience that has now exploded the different surfaces in which we're going to be able to find and consume and enjoy the World Cup.
Perfect. Alex, you want to jump in and give a little bit of insight of what Bix also is going to be doing on the experience side?
Yeah, I think just like Lisa was mentioning, it's very important the experience as well. We know that the consumers are just like you say, like it's not only about delivery, it's also like the experience that they are looking for. So we are thinking of additional experiences that now we can do by using a streaming. For example, we're allowing them to go back and look at a special like moment on the games. That's a very interesting way for them to re-engage in case they missed it at first. We are also trying to tell them or keep them engaged on what the team that they are following, right? Like, so I mean, a lot of people will be ready to that, but like if you are traveling, you now have your mobile device and get a notification or get like updates about that. It's an interesting way to see it, and also like by using all this technology, we are giving them the experience for like multi-view experience where they can watch a couple of games at the same time or even like different cameras angles. So I think in general we are trying to enrich the experience, and of course like that's on top of like the baseline, right? Like the interesting commodity, like good quality, latency that they are expecting. So it's a bundle for them.
Yeah, the important also option for, or the important things to consider into the experience is the different audience. You're going to get like the more legacy audience, which just they want to watch the game. They don't want to be interrupted. Then you have the young audience, which most likely are going to either go to the mobile and start moving screens and try to make it easy. I love the concept of the ability to teach people during the game. I think it's something new, and can either provide the ability to evangelize people about the sports, become them or converting them as part of fans consumer for that specific sports. So that changed a little bit of a sport is consuming. It's not just, hey, I like football and the only thing that I watch is football. It's also being able to teach them, hey, maybe you start learning. And if you can actually cross them from different sports, then that seasonality that happen, it can change. Maybe everybody's gonna go and watch football American game and then football and then basketball, and everybody start getting familiar with the game. So it's very interesting. I'm gonna jump in and I start getting with some questions that you double click were doing. The first question that I want to make, by the way, the picture was updated. So you're already there. I want to talk about the low latency. I think I want to just pop up that questions. I'm gonna go first with you, Ellie, on low latency. What type of experimentations are doing in the low latency, and what you consider low latency for users?
Well, I think Fox has a brand of really being a leader when it comes to streaming low latency. And while we don't give away all of our secret sauce on that, I will say that some of the things that we take a look at, for example, a lot of this has to do with, I mentioned the ad insertion or advertising partnerships, right? So when we take a look at just how optimized our ad decisioning tree is and how those integrations work and the partnerships that we use versus the proprietary, right? One of the very first things that we're taking a look at is what is the impact of that and how are we making sure to negotiate with our sales teams as well too. This isn't just a technical question, right? Part of this has to do with how we negotiate with our sales teams on what kind of deals they set up, how we make sure to serve our local stations still, and even more so as we look at things like 4K and the like. What are going to be the different ways that we can bring those feeds and those streams into the product smartly, still servicing those business concerns, but that is one of the key areas that we take a look at to make decisions and help negotiate what's right for the consumer and still serves those needs. So that's the first place I'd start looking.
Alex, anything to jump in on the latency itself?
No, I think all of that is very important. I will probably add also the exercise of looking for live events and live shows and everything, like looking at all the distribution pipeline as well. We were able to locate, like, when you're producing or editing, or even like at the time of the advertising, like inserting the tones, things like that, usually like adds a couple of seconds. And also like all the network hubs is probably not that relevant if you look at it as a unique element, but like all over it all adds. So that's important. And then of course, like there's good, like different technologies that allow like lower latency on how like the player configuration, the way you distribute that. The thing is, like I say on the three steps that, that I mentioned, right? I think you want to make sure that there is a consistent experience all across the platforms, and given that each platform behave or have different technologies that they can adapt, it's a little bit hard to give that experience. We give it anyways, but like like the consumer preference might be on a different device, so we tend to standardize. That's mostly there. But yeah, I think the challenge of low latency, the trade-offs are on the revenue side, like you gotta be very careful on the ads and all that. If you want to open your market, then you start getting more challenges. But also the other thing is, in like the countries that we tend to, like Latin America, not so much in the US, but like in Latin America countries, like the infrastructure is a little bit like older, you
Correct.
could say. And so making a lower latency experience actually tends to impact the buffering experience. And because of that, like I think it's if you look at all the pipeline, I think the users tend to get more frustrated by rebuffering
Totally.
than the actual latency.
The
challenge.
latency. Yeah, totally. Actually, you get a good point. So in South America, there is also the challenge of the apps and the firmware from the different devices are old enough that even the latency is affecting, not because of the deliveries, latency because of the local power of the devices. So it's something that is out of the control. You cannot control those elements. It's a great point. I'm gonna in terms of latency, I'm gonna make a kind of an experience that we have it. And then you talk about advertisement. We have a customers also in the sport arena that the way how they were operated, and that is the reason why I was trying to connect with the latency, is they they were building a pipelines that during the pipelines they're actually inserting the ad markers manually, like human in the loop, making the ad markers insertion, going back. What happened with that one is naturally you are adding like a latency in that one. The person first needs to see origin. Once the origin is actually good, then you try to say, hey, it's a break time. Perfect. I send an ad marker downstreams, right? Now that you are figuring out that you can do that upstreams, it's going to be much easier to not depending on that latency being ingested is more automatically as part of the workflow. So that is the reason why I was interested in how Fox and Bixi is sorting that out. I'm gonna make a question before going to the innovation part about the cloud and the reliability. We were talking with Ellie. We were coming on the bus, which by the way we're running a bit late. We were talking about the be prepared for production, but at the stage that you are really prepared for production by every single time that you're running events, right? So World Cup is a little bit different, but now you know that your streaming needs to be performance as a linear TV, need to be up and running all the time. So you're gonna give a little bit of the thoughts that we were discussing earlier about what readiness means for Fox One.
Right. So our live sports uh, war wounds have taught us quite a bit as it relates to the unpredictability of these things, decisions that are being made in real time, upstream with production, with executives, at the source, and so forth, right? So redundancy all the way from source and truck all the way through is absolutely always part of our execution and our planning. Things like all of us who have been in live sports have experienced What happens when the schedule changes? What happens when you get a tie Super Bowl? What happens, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of what we do in the preparation for those situations is actually making sure that we have the ability to handle thundering herd scenarios, the ability for us to make sure that we can do the appropriate scale and load tests, of course, right? But the other thing is being smart about, at the end of the day, people are there to watch. So let's not get cute with keeping everything up and running and trying to fail the users in delivering ultimately what it is that they came there for. And so the number one thing that we exercise is get them to the stream. At the end of the day, get them to the stream, because the thing you will be ripped to shreds on otherwise will be not getting them to the stream, right? You can have all the beautiful features in the world, get them what they came there for, right? And care about that.
Totally. And Alex, coming to the same question for you, I personally see your team operating at the very high level in terms of number of games, number of events, how your team is prepared for the operational aspect in terms of the normal base and now with the World Cup.
Yeah, I think it's on that capacity planning that we were talking about. I mean, we have months, and I was just talking about that with the production operations team, the live monitoring team. They were not as concerned because they say like when World Cup is happening, there's no other sports event,
Yeah.
and that actually is less than the normal regular like like February, January months. So in a way, like that is covered, but on the other side, like for sure you are getting more traffic, like you are getting double digit increase on certain moments, and there's not really, I mean, there's predictability on the beginning of the tournament and a couple of Mexico games because our audience is there, but like the tournament can go any way, and maybe Mexico gets to the final, so that will be triple digit.
Yeah. Hopefully not with Argentina. We need to get it before that one. Yeah, 100%. I think there is an interesting point between how the live operators are working right now between what is the tier 2, tier 3 games, but massively in terms of number of games that they need control, compared with June, July, that is going to be a season where they're going to have less number of events, but it's going to be more critical to control them. Correct. And part of what we're discussing with Elisa before is, as part of the company move across the board and streaming, need to be prepared for both. Need to be prepared for high season in terms of T2, T3 games, or compare with T1 games. That is going to be what happened now in June, July. So great. I'm going to get to try to close with the last questions. So again, I compared 94 was the last World Cup here. We were in front of the TV watching there. Now we have multiple devices streaming. Eli, for you, what do you think is going to happen in the next few years? Hard to predict with AI, but can you give what you think is going to happen with the innovation on the streaming side for sports?
I think the coming together of all the different form factors onto your front door is really going to come home to roost. And when I analogize that, like if I think about the work, I was hoping I'm going to plan a vacation once the World Cup is over. And when I think about the amount of research and things like that I used to do to like figure out what my agenda be, all the great restaurants I want to go to, like what are the no miss experiences, it would take me days, hours, weeks, whatever. I did that in a matter of a few hours with Claude. When I think about that and I think about the streamer's experience, they're going to want everything personalized out their front door. The stream, the education, the creator content that goes around it, the different form factors in which you're going to get to watch it on. I think, when you think about like there is like I mentioned before, we are in the immersive space as well too, and the VR headset space as well too. Those things are just going to keep getting more and more investment. So when you intersect all of those things and getting to this crazy, kind of, I'm going to use a phrase that we're using internally, bento box world of all of this content, it's going to be super personalized. You're going to be able to get it all right on your front door, and you're not going to go around searching for it anymore. And we got to get out in front of that.
Yeah, great. Alex?
Yeah, I think not gonna look into the consumer part because I agree on all of that. I think from the company side of things, it's gonna be also very interesting because we will be using AI for like optimizing the stream, like you say, like personalizing a way, but we will make sure that a lower ISP, lower bandwidth ISP will receive a better like tailor stream for them. We will make sure that not only like technically speaking, like the bandwidth uses, but also like things like codecs or things like lower latency or optionality and all that will be available, but it will be a decision made at the moment of the stream. I think that's important. And then of course, like a lot of other things, security, like things like account sharing. It's interesting because I think AI will help on all of that. Will help identify households. Will help create a more personalized content discovery for them, or the other thing that could be is like personalized experience features. It's gonna look good. I wonder of other things. I don't know if they are gonna happen, but like new media formats, like you've seen, like we are moving from horizontal
To vertical.
vertical. That's kind of like not. I mean, it's an innovation on the industry, but like not so relevant like a headset, right? So maybe next worker will be more like a 3D experience on an AR type of thing or something else. So that's more on the innovation side.
Yeah, it's also true that now that we are coming into the streaming arena, just coming to evolve from 264, 265, VP9. I think we're gonna get more encoders coming into the market. Since they are in the GTL, also I think the market and the industry will try to experiment with new protocols. Just here at Dazn experimenting with Delta the other day, or Media por the Q. I think they're gonna be coming more new innovations way in the market for delivery and high quality and low latency, and even new devices potentially in the future that I don't know how we're gonna need to make magic and then making them
Yeah, man.
streaming some of the future of sports. So I think it's gonna be a future very interesting to see, and we're moving at a fast speed so far. We have 2 minutes. I'm not sure if there's any questions from the audience that we want to leverage to us two great talented engineer teams here.
Oh, no, no. Wait, a question? Okay.
Are either of you thinking about moving to HEVC or the World Cup, or is it all going to be upscaled to ABC?
Go ahead.
You mean like HBC? You said? Um, I think it's so yes and no. Like we're providing experimental experience to customers with multiple options. So that's not gonna be the mainstream like delivery, but it's gonna be there available for users.
Yeah, and we are looking primarily at upscaling, but there's been a lot of experimentation on our side about that path forward because this is, upscaling is not going to be the answer for us for sports any longer. And even as we start to think about fall sports, we're lining up those pieces on which path we're going to go down that way as well too. So we want to deliver a reliable experience, and we want to have a high quality with that, but a lot more of that is going to evolve very quickly on the heels.
Yeah, World Cup is not a good place to actually go
Yeah.
in an hour. Any other questions from the audience? No?
Yeah, the question is for Alexandra. How are you going to manage the distribution of those 48 teams playing each other? How do you going to manage the distribution of these games between among the broadcasters on the air, streaming? Which streaming is for free, or is fast, or it's and satellite? What's your criteria to distribute? To choose which games are going to be distributed over the air? For example, of course, Mexico team is going to be over the air, but the rest of the teams.
Yeah, I think so. So the offer that we have is there's gonna be 32 games that are like over the air and streaming. Those are simulcast, and we use the same technology as before. But like you say, there's 72 other games that are exclusive on streaming, and I think for us it's relatively like day-to-day operations, because we have the network, the broadcasting team that actually help us to deliver, and in that particular case, like centralize the stream for us to distribute. But like I said, the resilient plan and also like the DRP and all of that um, makes us to consider other type of not only like the normal, you could say, fiber, but also like satellite and other distribution way to get them. So yeah, we kind of like have like 5 or 6 different paths to get there. Yeah.
Okay, I think we're on time. Really appreciate both of you. I owe you tickets for Mexico, so you are gonna need to. And then for you, Elisa, also, get my commitment on having them for you. Thank you very much, everybody. It was a pleasure. Okay.
Thank you.